Video shows utterly bizarre jellyfish UFO. And it's one of the freakiest things you'll ever see. All right. Okay. So here's the actual larger screenshot. This is taken from, it says a Twitter screenshot public from @Mike Again, follow him on Twitter. This is where the screenshot comes from. There is a video to go along with it. And basically what we see is this UFO shaped entity or object kind of floating through, I think it's Iraq, or I think that's where it's at, somewhere in the Middle East. I'll get you the exact details momentarily here. But I did watch the video several times, and it has this sort of phasing effect where it kind of, let's say, maybe melds kind of Predator style to the background. So you almost see it changing color. Like it'll be dark, and then it'll be light, then it'll be dark, then it'll be light. Okay, so and there's so as usual, when you see something like this and you get a video, people are like, okay, well, let's dissect the video. Let's look at the actual evidence, and let's look at the parallax effect and how far away was the lens, and you know what I mean, all this stuff. Look, this is how investigations are done. So this is a good thing that people are doing this. But we also have this other aspect of, these are supposedly from these intelligence agencies, the actual military apparatus that's out there in actual war zones, collecting this data from Reaper drones and that type of thing. So I don't know. Like as usual, what do we believe from this? Look, I don't know. Personally, I saw the thing, and thanks for the sound check, James. I see you there. I did watch the video. I'll get that video, and I'll see if I can play it on the stream here, and we can have it playing behind me. But this is what we're looking at: this jellyfish UFO. Okay, and Jeremy Corbell has been talking about this for quite some time now. But now, just over the weekend, I believe this has been released. And well, this is what we're looking at. It's literally a jellyfish UFO, and oddly enough, it brings to mind a couple things. In the past, we've done shows of similar ideas here. And this isn't the first time a, quote, jellyfish UFO has been seen, which is absolutely wild to me because if you do remember, we did that, time traveling octopus from the future trickster show a ways back, which is hilarious and awesome. And, kind of just wild speculation, of course, because who really knows time travel, but throw in the trickster octopus and it becomes even better. I'll dig that show up and I'll link it in the description. You can check it out for the lulz. It's hilarious. But the thing is this. So we had that. We had another show also regarding the Mind Flayer, which is a D&D entity that has like these tentacles kind of coming out of its mouth or something to this effect. So I mean, there's a couple shows in the past we've done that are similar to this aspect, and this to me looks like, I don't know. Here's the thing regarding why I'm of two ways about this. Okay, number one, if you look at the video, many of you have seen this, many of you have not. So I apologize for not having the video ready. As you know, I literally get home from work and try and put these shows together super fast because Anyway, so I'm not begging for forgiveness. I'm just describing why I don't have everything always prepared. But so in the video, this thing kind of just floats by. And there's something tracking it, obviously, some military camera tracking it. But the prosaic thing that people are saying regarding this is like, well, it seems like there's sort of I don't know, like a secondary lens somehow, maybe blocking the actual camera lens that on the drone. Okay, and they're saying it's like a piece of bird crap. Okay, now again, just remove all of your bias if possible. And look at this image on the screen, and does this look like some bird crap on like a window? Stationary. I mean, it kind of does a little bit. Okay, but here's the thing, right? So it seems to be whatever's tracking this. Again, I don't know if it's a drone or whatever's going on with this. I'll read a little bit more from the article here. But as it's kind of cruising through the space there, it's being tracked. It seems like it's pretty steady and moving kind of what would be left to right, but we're looking at it from the other angle. So it's moving on our vantage point right to left. And it's just kind of cruising slowly across and then doing that sort of color morphing where it seems like it's blending in with the background. Now, there's a lot of things that could cause that, especially in terms of military aspects and other things. Like I'm not an expert here, but I do know that, the way cameras are, modern cameras are, a lot of this stuff can happen in prosaic fashion. Okay. And the thing that, so I'm going to make the case first for this being just a prosaic bird poo on the glass, which is what people are saying. Okay. Some people are saying. And so the second thing to me is I expected to see some sort of movement out of the object itself. and it sort of tentacles moving, because it appears to be right like a I don't know, like an amorphous blob with like a tentacles down below, very jellyfish-y, right? Okay, but beyond that, so there's I'm going to drop that. It wasn't moving. I didn't see tentacles. Like if there were tentacles moving on this thing, I'd have just locked up shop and ran to the bunker, and I'm not coming back. Like this is pretty terrifying if this is real. Okay, so there's that. But in the real aspect of this, let's say it is coming from intelligence community stuff, the military, as far as we're aware. The source is Jeremy Corbell, so take that with a grain of salt. I know he's very polarizing in the UFO community. Some people are like hook, line, and sinker everything he does, and other people are less, let's say more skeptical of the things he releases here. And so I don't know. Whatever you believe is whatever you believe. I'm not trying to change your mind in that regard. And like I said, let's not crap on Corbell tonight or any of the rest of that. Let's talk about the idea. And so another couple ideas came to my mind in terms of this actual jellyfish-shaped UFO. If you guys remember, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past as well, in Star Wars, at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, they had these Imperial probe droids that they shot out from the Star Destroyers, and they were seeding them all over the galaxy looking for Luke Skywalker. Do you remember this? If you guys are Star Wars fans. If you're not, I'll get off to Star Wars in a sec, so don't worry. But they were kind of shaped almost exactly like this, except they had sort of a little bit of a top on the, like a little head on top that could spin and, take camera shots and, a little antenna or something. But I mean, it looks kind of close to that Imperial probe droid from Star Wars, a little bit, right? The second thing that came to mind when I was watching this video in terms of, let's say, the jellyfish as a UFO and an entity was that movie Nope. I haven't seen it, but again, shout out Derek the Night Stalker. I see you there in the chat. We were talking about this in the past of these maybe UFOs not being technology, but being life forms somehow. And so this came to mind, the idea that, okay, well, maybe this is not a nuts and bolts feature here. This is an actual living entity that's kind of phasing in and out of our reality or something. I don't know. Like that came to mind. Okay. Just like I said, just a couple ideas of my first take on this. I did watch the video a couple, 3 times and it was looking really close. And look, I'm not an expert, as you know, in anything really. Like I said, barely even being myself, I'm an expert in. So you have to take all of my analysis with a grain of salt, but that's not what I do anyway. That's not what this is. This is a larger conversation about the possibilities here. So as we begin, number one, the questions are as follows as part of this conversation. We are, again, streaming in all those places you would expect. I'm reading your chat and all the relevant places. You know where it's at, all the places I see you out there in the chat. That keep the thoughtful ideas coming. I appreciate it. So I will incorporate those ideas into the show as we go. Keep that stuff coming. We are taking your phone calls, of course, at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. Okay, so in part of the larger conversation here, there's a lot of things that kind of come into play. And number one is, do you believe this? Do you believe this is real? Okay. Again, like I said, let's talk about the ideas. Let's not talk about the people. I think it's a little bit less important in terms of possibilities and maybe entities and UFOs and alien life and the rest. Okay. Just as usual, let's kind of keep it there so we don't turn this into a I don't like this guy or I don't like that guy type of TMZ, Jerry Springer type of conversation, which is funny enough because TMZ just released a special on UFOs and it has this featured in it, the TMZ style. Anyway, so have you seen this video? Number one, do you think it's real? And beyond that, what if this is, and what are the possibilities of these, let's say, jellyfish-shaped UFOs? And that's where my mind's at tonight. And a lot of things really kind of popped up as part of this when I started considering what this might mean in the larger sense, because who really knows, of course, but there is something known as, which we'll get to tonight, the belief system territory. Okay. And we'll get to that in the second half of the show. I'll get to some of the more wild stuff or less wild stuff before we get to that point. But if you remember, we did a show on the Monroe Institute, Robert Monroe. And in a particular space, in an out-of-body experience, he was describing this place called the Edge, sort of this gateway he was moving through in an out-of-body experience, moving past what he calls this belief system territory, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But as he was moving through this edge, he felt some sort of resistance, okay? His out-of-body kind of flowing through this minor turbulence. And as he was doing this, now wild enough, he started seeing these amorphous like blobs floating around him. And they seemed to be watching him. They seemed to be entities of some sort. And then he just kind of kept feeling this turbulence, trying to press through. We'll get to the exact verbiage from him as he wrote this in his journal. Journeys Out of Body is where this is from, the book he wrote. But he basically ends up describing it as one of these things sort of lands on his shoulder and then starts trying to draw energy from him. And he kind of like looks at it, tries to dust it off or whatever, and there's tentacles. And so suddenly it gets weird. It gets real when you're like, wait a minute now. This is bringing to mind some really, really weird stuff. But of course, the more sort of basic witch ideas here is that what is this thing? So that becomes the next question. The next layer of questions kind of cascade here. And is it, as usual, look, a lot of ways to look at this. Is it some sort of paranormal entity leaking through beyond the veil? Is it some sort of a Imperial probe droid of like a von Neumann probe from someplace else that just assembled its own personage of this jellyfish entity as it floated through our space here, taking, I don't know, just like we're watching it with our Predator drone or whatever, whatever the drone we're using there. We're watching it. Maybe it's watching us. Maybe it's doing the exact same thing, and it's assembled itself as part of this alien smart dust into something that's now here and it's watching us. Who knows? Like a physical, non-physical, alien, not alien. But then, of course, it brings up sort of, what about a physical entity? What about the idea that sort of like, nope, is this thing possibly like one of those jellyfish that people have described seeing in the sky for a while now? This isn't the first aspect of this. Now here's the wild part that I was doing a little bit of digging because I do remember we did do a show on sort of this jellyfish idea. I spun it into a Mind Flayer Dungeons and Dragons show. That was a fun one, which got taken down for medical misinformation, by the way, which is super hilarious. But I did appeal, and that's the only appeal I ever won on YouTube. So they put it back up because how could you say that Mind Flayers from Dungeons and Dragons are, medical anyway, you get the point, nutty stuff. But okay, so a lot of ideas to start here. And what the hell is going on with this? And do you believe this is a real thing? Because that's where we begin tonight. And how bizarre does it get? Because the more I kept digging here, the stranger this seemed to be. And I'll explain why. A couple ideas here. So let's see. We've got this thing there's something called a space jellyfish, and it's a NASA term. Okay, it's a space jellyfish, is straight from Wikipedia, is a rocket launch related phenomenon caused by sunlight reflecting off the high altitude rocket plume gases emitted by a launching rocket during morning or evening twilight. The observer is in darkness while the exhaust plumes at high altitudes are still in direct sunlight. The luminous apparition is reminiscent of a jellyfish. Okay, all right, fine. This is cool. Rocket terminology, I'm into it. Well, we got this one. Let's skip that one and go straight to this one. Now, this is wild. Links in the description down below. Moviemaker.com reports this. What was the Petrozavodsk, I can't speak Russian, Petrozavodsk phenomenon, that's a city in Russia, I believe, the jellyfish-shaped UFO seen over Russia in 1977. Okay, and this is where this starts to get weird, because this incident, I believe, with Jeremy Corbell, when was it? Let me check the thing real quick. It's in the write-up. It was filmed in 2018 over Iraq, okay, as I stated earlier. But now we're looking at some of these older stories, and there's one seen over Russia in 1977. Read a little bit from the article. On September 20th, 1977, what would later become known as the Petrozavodsk phenomenon, if I'm butchering that, I apologize, it occurred when sightings of a huge jellyfish-shaped object in the sky were reported by people in Russia and Finland, according to the Soviet Secrets episode on Netflix Top Secret UFO Projects, declassified docuseries. Now again, sourcing Netflix, I don't know. I couldn't find any other information regarding this on short notice, so we'll go with this and say that this is a legit source. If it's not, well, forgive me on that as well. But anyway, so the 6-episode series covers the stories of people who say they've seen unidentified flying objects. Anyway, so according to the docuseries, in the early morning hours of that fateful day in December in 1977, eyewitnesses reported an amethyst-colored object with pulsating tentacles of light reaching down from the craft to the city below. quote, that case which took place in Petrovodisk was a real one. And that transformation which people reported when the UFO took a different form gave a lot of material for thinking, for discussion, says UFO author Valery Uvarov in the docuseries. I haven't seen this myself. As you know, I don't have a lot of time to be watching these types of things, but I did find it fascinating that I was able to do a simple, just a search engine search and find, you bet your bippy, some other older instances of people seeing jellyfish-shaped UFOs. Another one here. Let's go to this. So we got this one. This is one from Netherlands, and this is back in June 3rd of 2015. And I don't think that, this is a different one. Jellyfish UFO caught on camera in Netherlands sky. And so a nature blogger was stunned when he appeared to capture a UFO on camera. Harry Purton photographed the unusual object in Groningen, the Netherlands, after he ventured out in a storm to take pictures for his blog last week. Again, this is back to 2015. But he was stunned when he checked his camera and spotted the Jellyfish UFO, so called for its appearance, floating in the night sky emitting an eerie flash of green light. Harry said, quote, I saw from my window hauntingly beautiful skies and I waited for the rain to subside before I went out. I was taking photos and suddenly something flashed. At first, I thought it must have been my camera, but the flash was not up and there was not a drop on my lens. I decided it must have been a strike of lightning, but back at home, I saw something strange in one of the photos I took. What looked like a UFO? And there's the photograph there. Now, and that's the point here. So this is not a brand new thing, okay? We're talking sort of Jeremy Corbell over the weekend released this. Again, it's supposedly from a, some drone footage. And like I said, how do we actually verify this stuff? I think that's part of the problem and part of the issue I have had with these, leaks, because that's what they are. And you can't really just say, oh, well, my anonymous sources. You can't say this forever. At some point, the information has to come out from an actual source. And of course, I know there's obfuscation, there's the games within the DOD, there's transparency issues, there's all this stuff, okay? So I know it's incredibly complicated, but one of the things that always gets my goat regarding this stuff is that anonymous source. But anyway, what do you know about this? Have you heard of this? It is sort of taken the UFO world by storm, this jellyfish UFO. But like I said, it's not a new phenomenon, which is strange to me. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's not? Let's say it is. How weird does it get when we're talking about out-of-body experiences, these astral places, jellyfish entities, and now, of course, jellyfish UFOs? Weird or nah? Tonight we're taking your calls as we talk about this jellyfish UFO. As usual, when Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp release something like this, it takes the UFO world by storm, as it should. I think we should keep a close eye on these types of things because, as we said the last couple nights in terms of the aliens in Miami and this bit, look, how would we really know if this stuff was real if we don't give it a look when this stuff comes out, okay? And as usual, this is what Troubled Minds has always been about. Let's consider possibilities. And check this out. Think of a world where disclosure comes and goes and a real, actual video of entities from another realm surfaced. And it looks so, let's say, blurry or something, or this, that, or the other, whatever you want to describe it as. Let's say not compelling in human terms, but maybe it's exactly the thing we needed to see. And we just kind of blew it off and, it was on YouTube back in, 2005 or something. When did YouTube go live? I have no idea. Let's say it was like the 10th YouTube video put on YouTube. It's been there forever. It's been ignored forever. And nobody really cares because it looked, quote, fake. Well, how do we know if we don't check these things out? And this is really the point of tonight is, not only that, the weirdness of this jellyfish bit. And have you seen this? What do you know about it? Why is it a jellyfish shape? Is it strange to you that we're seeing not just similar instances back to 1977 and probably even beyond that? I mean, there's a lot here that's at least compelling idea-wise. And you know me, I love the ideas. I love being here considering these concepts, and we'll get into some wild stuff as we go. But what do you think is happening here? Again, and like I said, the most prosaic explanation, again, as some people are suggesting, it looks like some bird poo on a lens or something, right? And so, okay, fine, maybe. And again, if anybody's got this, I'll pull it up as we go when you guys can give me a call in a minute if you'd be so kind, and show the actual video. But it's basically the same shape, and it's just moving, like I said, sort of right to left on the screen. and that it doesn't really move, but there's sort of that weird bobbing effect because they're trying to track it with the camera, and the AI camera tracking isn't perfect yet, so it kind of is bouncing up and down a little bit as it tries to track this thing kind of moving through the desert. And but it's creepy enough. I was hoping for some tentacles moving, which I didn't think I saw, but maybe you saw them move in a particular instance. Anyway, so what is going on with this? Number one, why this? Why now? And why is it shaped like a damn jellyfish? Which is beyond the strange. Shout out Dave Cruz, because this is exactly the point of this. Looking at this thing just with the eyeballs is like, okay, well, that's a pretty bizarre shape. Maybe it's a craft. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's an entity. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from here. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. I'm going to read a little bit from this write-up because it's important to get some of the details out there and to get some of this other stuff happening. So here we go. So the Jellyfish UFO, also known as the Jellyfish UAP, of course, is a mysterious object that was captured on video by the United States military in 2018 over Iraq. The footage, which was leaked by investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, shows a thermal image of a strange object that appears to change colors from white to black, indicating rapid temperature changes from hot to cold. According to Corbell, the object was seen entering a lake and remaining underwater for 17 minutes before emerging and shooting up at a 45-degree angle. Witnesses reported that the legs of the jellyfish were stiff and did not move. The Jellyfish UFO has generated significant interest and speculation within the UFO community. As I said, it should. Some have suggested that it could be an alien craft, while others have proposed more mundane explanations, such as a balloon or a drone, or, of course, bird poo on a lens. However, there is no definitive explanation for the object at this time, yet, as usual. And so, a lot of theories, and like I said, that nope theory of entities. What about something coming through from the other side, sort of the paranormal aspect of this, or the dimensional? I mean, look, we're super weird on Troubled Minds. It's really what we do. And now you're good, Derek. Anytime, take your time there. So basically, the idea is this: what are we talking about, and how deep does this get in terms of let's say not just the UFO phenomenon itself, but this jellyfish shape? Is it if it's appearing to us as we would expect, sort of that trickster effect, it doesn't seem like a jellyfish in the sky is what we would expect. And so what are we seeing here? Is it goofball? Is it somewhere in between? I don't know. So some of the ideas kind of brainstormed as part of this. Actually, let me do that real quick. We'll do that and talk about some of these ideas just real fast, because the thing is this: it's all over the map. It's all over the map, and it did lead me to that Robert Monroe aspect, which, by the way, I one-upped the AI on this, because I asked the AI as I was sort of brainstorming these ideas. I asked Claude, of all things, which is usually the one who's on the game here, if it knew anything about a similarity between this Jellyfish UFO and the Monroe Institute and the Journeys Out of Body, the book. And it said, nah, not really. There's, not really a thing here. And then I elaborated a little bit and asked it, well, wait, wasn't there sort of an instance where he was floating through this edge of something, a doorway or, some kind of thing, and he encountered these sort of jellyfish-like entities? I asked this to the AI. And it's like, oh, yes, actually, thank you for that, because I missed that. I rechecked the book, and in chapter 15, it says exactly this, and it printed out the thing. So I'll read that to you in a moment here, but now we're looking at not just UFOs and entities and this type of thing, but now we're considering that what are these from the Journey Out of Bodies experience by Robert Monroe as well. And think about that, just the different realities as they collide here. I don't really know, of course, the idea is beyond me because they're just a human in this world. But anyway, so in January 2024, just now, more footage of the Jellyfish UFO was released on the docuseries TMZ Presents UFO Revolution. Yes. Jerry. The new video, which was also recorded in 2018, shows a different angle of the object and has further fueled speculation about its origin and nature. Now, a couple things, too, regarding it. Now, Jeremy Corbell did suggest this thing went into the water, shot out, stayed under there for 17 minutes, I believe he said, shot out, and at a 45-degree angle. There's no footage of this, at least that was presented to us. No footage of that, which again would have been entirely compelling, right? So anyway, so now the weird part is when you start brainstorming the ideas here and considering what the hell this might be, clearly interdimensional entity pops up as one of the most obvious in terms of like the troubled mind take on this, that, you know, we do mix our peas and carrots and we, you know, put all this stuff in the cosmic blender and smash puree. So, I mean, you know, the idea of a non-physical being able to occasionally manifest in our physical reality that may or may not feed on psychic or consciousness style energy, right? The archon, so to speak, something like this. Wouldn't that be a trip? If we caught on video an archon sagging into our universe by maybe accident, we saw the tail of the elephant or something, right? For just a moment, that'd be pretty wild. But I don't know, some other ideas, of course, like I said, Nope was one of the ones where this thing's actually an entity. I'll put it back on the screen so you can see what we're talking about. And I don't know. I'm so split on this because if those tentacles were moving, and they're not in this, they're very rigid, they're very not moving whatsoever, I would just be like, oh dear Lord, but they're not. I mean, but that's the thing, right? So as a human expectation of an alien creature, like what do we expect to see? The expectations are a bitch, aren't they? So anyway, the other idea, alien bioship, back to that, the idea of the actual Nope, right? Possible advanced extraterrestrial probe or living spacecraft originating from something like a gas giant, Jupiter or Saturn, something like this, which you might expect this thing being able to float through the atmosphere in the shape that it is, as a, you know, sort of a jellyfish in terms of like the gaseous ocean, and not a you know, just a floating thing or whatever we're talking about tonight. But anyway, so that's what's going on here. A lot of ideas, and I'll get to this Robert Monroe stuff in the second hour because I think it's incredibly important here. Because as we always discuss, again, mixing these ideas, what are we dealing with this phenomenon? Again, and if it's all phony, that's okay too, because it is all part of the realm. It is the normie take, the normie version of reality, and that's cool by me too, because like I always say, I'm the biggest normie there is, and that's totally fine. But I'm a dreamy normie, to my detriment even. But so what do you know about this? Again, have you seen this video? Do you think it's real? And what the hell do you think is going on with this jellyfish shape? And notable, like I said, there's some instances recently, 1977 and 2015, where people have actually captured other jellyfish style and shapes of UFOs from sightings and also even photographs. So this is not just the first time, and I'm sure there's probably going to be many more. I didn't have time to scour through Project Blue Book, but maybe there's this stuff happening, dare we say, since the dawn of time. Who really knows?